Hi, welcome to Lucy Talks, a safe space to talk. And today I have Thomas Savino, who is a retired public school teacher.
Yes.
Hi, how are
Hi,
you?
I'm fine. Lucy, thanks for having me here.
So, I'm so lucky to actually have had him in high school, and it was the best class I had, to
Oh,
be
thank
honest.
you.
It was. You were always very happy and just silly and just full of life. And I
Yeah,
liked that
yeah,
because you weren't a little stuck up or anything like that. So that
yeah,
was great.
yeah, good.
So, what inspired you to become a teacher?
Well, I never even thought about being a teacher, but necessity is the mother of invention, as they say. And I came out to California from New York uh, to write TV shows and film, and I had to make a living because I wasn't making a living writing for TV and film. I was trying to get into the business like a lot of people here in California, a lot of people here in Southern California. And I had all these crazy jobs, Lucy, telephone sales. Uh, one day, and I had a one-day job selling burial plots on the phone. And I just couldn't do it because every time somebody answered the phone and I told them where I was from, Eternal Valley, burial plots, I could hear how sad they got, and I was making all these people sad. So that was just a one-day job, and I had a lot of these telephone sales jobs. See, what happened was, Lucy, I needed time to write and to try to get into, try to make connections into the business. And ordinary jobs, 9 to 5 jobs, were kind of hard to do that.
Hmm.
Uh, so my wife, who was a teacher at in East LA, she was a teacher at Roosevelt High School. She said to me, "Why don't you try substitute teaching? Because even though even though it's set hours, you'd have a lot of time. You don't have to prepare lessons like she had to prepare lessons. You have a lot of time off, and if you have an appointment that day, you don't have to go in because you're a substitute teacher. You just say, I don't want to go in today. So there was a lot of flexibility with being a substitute teacher. So that's how I started. I started being a substitute teacher in on the east side, East LA, Lincoln Heights, and in that area.
Did you have to pass a test before you became a substitute teacher?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
I had to pass the same test that the regular teachers had to pass to get in. Yes, so I did. I passed the test. Ironically, I got a higher grade in math. I don't know how that happened at all, but a higher grade in math than I did in English. But anyway, I passed it and became a substitute teacher. And I found out, Lucy, that I really I liked being with the students. This is the first thing I realized. I just took the job because it was a job, you know. It was a way to make money, a way to have benefits too, because a lot of
Hmm.
these other jobs
Insurance.
didn't have benefits. The burial place, the burial place, that they would give me a grave if I stayed there long enough, but there were no benefits or anything like that. So as a substitute teacher, there were health benefits and even retirement benefits uh, and the flexibility. So anyway, I took the job, but I liked students. I didn't know I was going to like students, but I really liked being with students.
And they were high school
And
students.
to mostly high school and sometimes junior high as a substitute. Yeah.
Do you remember your first day as a teacher?
Oh yeah. Okay, my first day, Lucy. This is I don't think many people have this. My first day as a substitute teacher was to substitute for the principal.
Oh, wow. Is that possible?
Yeah, let me tell you what happened. I was, I was waiting for. They told me, okay, somebody's going to call you in the morning, and you go to that school. That's how it works. So they call me and they said you have to go into Eagle Rock High School. Eagle Rock was, and I think still is, a junior high and high school together. But anyway, they called me and they gave me the name of the teacher I was supposed to sub for, and it turns out the teacher I was supposed to sub for was the principal. And what happened? He was not absent. He needed an assistant for the day. They were doing some special event at Eagle Rock, and he needed an assistant. So that was my introduction. My first day of teaching was for the principal of Eagle Rock High School.
Nice.
But I was just helping him do stuff. But my real first day as an English teacher was at King Junior High School. It's a middle school now, but then this is how long ago this was. At King Junior High School in Hollywood area. So they call me to teach for a substitute for an English teacher, and they give me the keys at the front desk. They give me the keys to the room, and they tell me a map for the campus, and here you go. So I open up the door to the classroom, and not only were there were no desks or students, water was dripping from the ceiling.
Oh no.
Well, I mean, dripping from the ceiling, and everything in the classroom was burned down.
Wait, was this like one of the ghetto schools or something?
Not really. This is a King Junior High School. Then like I said, then it was a junior high school. It's in Hollywood, like near Sunset and near Sunset, where Sunset meets Hollywood, or I wouldn't say it's too ghetto area,
Mm-hmm.
But so I walked back to the main office and I said, I think you forgot. And they said, oh yeah, we forgot to tell. Oh, I'm sorry. Forgot to tell you. So they took the keys back and they told me to go to the cafeteria where the students, because someone burned the classroom.
Oh no.
And so the class was meeting in the cafeteria. So I met in the cafeteria, and that was my first day of teaching with these. I guess they were ninth graders. It was junior high school again at the time, and it was total chaos. Total chaos. And you as a student, I'm sure you've never taken advantage of me, but I know the students now. Well, first of all, I was not a substitute teacher.
No, you were my
I was
teacher.
a regular teacher.
Yeah.
But
So what you're saying is I was never like fucked up to you. Like I never like bullied you or never any of those things.
But I bet you, and you'll have to admit this, Lucy, when you had a substitute teacher, didn't the word get around? Oh, today we have a substitute. We gotta.
They usually,
Let's get on.
Yeah, because of the previous classes, they tell you like, oh, it's this up today, and get prepared. Yeah. But sometimes, like, the subs would put on a movie or something.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's I understand that. That the old put on the movie trick, yes. So my first day of teaching in the cafeteria, because the regular classroom burned down, and I was with these kids. I think it was eighth or ninth grade. I don't know. I don't remember. But they knew a substitute was coming, and plus they had a lot of trauma because their classroom burned down, and they were going through from one substitute after another and after another. It was like they didn't have a regular teacher, and they didn't care, and they were like they were in need of some stability,
Mm-hmm.
and I was not that person, at least for that day. So that was my first day, and they sent in what they call a mentor teacher. Uh, I still remember her name, Gloria Terrakitty-Pon.
What? Is that a real name?
She's an Anglo person, but her husband was Thai from Thailand, and her last name was Terrakitty-Pon. Gloria Terrakitty-Pon. She was my mentor teacher. So she coached me, and she got me through crises after another. So I subbed there for a long time, and Gloria Terrakitty-Pon, kind of got me on the road to becoming a regular teacher. I got into a program at CSUN where I could get my teaching credential. I had the substitute credential, but at CSUN I went for a full-fledged regular credential, and they let me at Poly. They let me take a position and be paid as a regular teacher while I was at CSUN getting my permanent credential. So anyway, that's how I got in. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. And so how long have you been doing this for? Like, how long were you a teacher for?
I was a teacher for more than 30 years.
Wow.
I started this infamous day where I started with subbing for the principal of East Eagle Rock. It was 1984.
1984.
That's when I started. And then I retired in I retired as a full-time teacher in 2014, but after that I went back to subbing just to keep myself busy and everything. And then when the pandemic hit, and I just stopped altogether.
How did your 30 plus years of teaching evolve throughout the years?
Well, I was very fortunate when I was in my substitute teaching experience. I forget the name of the school. I don't remember the name of the school, but I was exposed to a program called Humanitas, and I was substituting for a Humanitas teacher, and I said, "Whoa, this is interesting." So what Humanitas was and still is, it's still around. It's an educational program in high school where the teachers of different disciplines team up, and they have the same students. So the students go from history class, and the same students then go to my English class, and then the same students will go to the biology class. And the teachers, the three teachers meet together and make lessons together, and there's almost like a family quality because the students get to know each other, or for at least three periods they have the same students, and they and the lessons are thematically that they're thematically connected, so that it's just more connected. The students are more connected with what they're doing. They're more connected with each other because they're there with each other for three periods, and the teachers, the three teachers are and then we did a lot of fun activities like field trips together and things like that.
Nice.
So I was really into the Humanitas program. I loved it. The students loved it. But then over the years, things changed. It was very hard. It was very hard for the counselors to program Humanitas classes because they would have to get the same students in every period. Mm-hmm. And and it was hard to do that. And eventually, they kind of phased it out, and I was very disheartened when they phased it out, and it's, a lot of things changed, Lucy, during my 30 years. I'll tell you, like when I wanted to be an English teacher, and I was an English teacher, and I expected to teach literature, and over the years that focus changed. They said the students are really they need to learn how to read. And I said, a lot of the teachers, including myself, said, this is high school, this is juniors and seniors, and they should know how to read by now, But the issue, the problem was, or the challenge was, that the students were from from cultures and countries where they didn't speak English, so they weren't too versed in reading, even in their own language. They weren't too versed in reading. So the job of the English teacher in high school kind of changed from focusing on literature to try to help students learn to read more, Except in my class, where we just joked around a lot.
Well, it was. I had a great time. I was like, oh, at least I'll have Savino's class to look forward to. Like, that was my attitude, because you were just great. Like, you would teach, but you would also throw in some jokes.
Yes.
And that's what I liked.
Yeah.
We weren't like all like serious. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I mean, seriously, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I guess that part of me comes from my background of starting in Brooklyn, New York. I started in radio. I had a radio show. I met this guy in my college. I went to the New York Institute of Technology, and I met a guy named Frank Atolo. And we did a little show on the college radio station. We did a show. We started as disc jockeys who played music, and then we'd play fewer and fewer records, and more. And we joked around more and eventually we didn't play any records, and we just joked around. So Frank and I, after college, started a radio production firm in Brooklyn, Casino Loot Productions, and we produced radio shows. We produced comedy radio shows, and we syndicated them to different stations throughout the country. But so I guess so my background was kind of in humor and joking around. So that was like a part of me, is to joke around, and I took that into the classroom, and I appreciate. I get it, if you're geared to joke around, if you're the person who jokes around, you're going to like when people laugh, and it kind of feeds you. And so, I was motivated to joke around in class. I'm glad you appreciated it.
No, for reals. So yeah. I know, like, my sister's 10 years older than me.
Yeah.
And she even remembers you when she was in school.
Oh,
I don't think you were her teacher, but I know, like, her friends, you were their teacher, and they also loved you. So it's nice. And then also my brother's wife had you, and she loved you. So everybody loved you.
I didn't know you had a brother. So yeah.
I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And my younger sister, of course, she knows you too. So.
So your brothers went to Poly too?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they went to school, but I don't think they had you. But I'm sure that if they saw a picture of you, they'd be like, "Oh, I know who that is."
Oh.
You were the fun teacher.
Well, yeah, I guess I'm glad you feel that way. I hope you learn. I hope you learn stuff.
I don't know if I learned anything.
Besides enjoying the
I forget
class.
everything, but but yeah, like, I mean, I remember doing some essays and stuff like that where I was like, oh man, like, can't we just continue joking around? Like, and you'd be like, no, serious guys, I need this turned in by Friday and da-da-da. But people were like, yeah, whatever. But they would turn in their work, and I would too. So yeah.
Well, I had,
Yeah, you had to.
I had to grade you on something.
But I don't remember ever hearing you like yell at us, and maybe raise your voice a little bit, but for us to calm down, because some of us were a little crazy.
Yeah,
But,
I do. Only if rarely did I have a student that made me yell. There were a few times that were like really bad, but I mean, yelling. But you can't do that. First of all, you kill yourself if you just keep. If you had to do that every day, it would be very hard to do that.
What do you think students really need to succeed today beyond test scores?
Wow, that's a good one. You brought up a subject, test scores. Being in that Humanitas program that I told you about was not, all teachers, of course, have to be responsible for grading the students on their writing or their tests and so on and so forth. But as my years went on teaching, the schools, including Poly, became more and more obsessed with test scores. And I understand that the principal was great. The principal was, what's the word I'm looking for? Gauged or the principal was appraised by the school's test scores. So, of course, the principal wants the teachers to get the students' test scores up.
Mm-hmm.
But then everything was, they kept focusing on the test scores. And that Humanitas program was not about test scores. I mean, we had to have tests, we had to have scores, but we were about being human. What the Humanitas was about how to appreciate being human and how to appreciate all different kinds of humans and cultures, and that's what it was all about. So it wasn't about so the more pressure that was put on teachers to get test scores up, the less human it became. It became more like just numbers, and that was not. I didn't like that at all. That was one of the reasons. Even though I was teaching for 30 years, it was one of the reasons I left, because it became like I just can't. I'm losing the humanity of the student is not important. It became less and less important for the school and the district and everything else. But what was the question again? What does a student need to succeed beyond test scores?
Yes.
Well, like in my opinion, but like what I was just saying, I see a student's success as what kind of a person that
they are,
that he or she
they become,
is going to be after high school. Is he or she going to be kind to other people and appreciate other people and be a responsible person and not cheat and that's what I gauge somebody's success as, that not that they went to Harvard or something.
What advice do you give to parents to better support their children's education?
My experience, now I don't know how it is today, but let me go back to my experience, because that's that's what we're talking about. I would say the parents, I would have liked them to be more involved. They could have contacted me more, and by the time I was leaving teaching, it was easier for parents and teachers to communicate emails and texts and all that stuff. Where when I was starting, we didn't have emails and texts. It was just pencils and paper and smoke signals. It was, things changed. So the ability to communicate became better as I was leaving teaching, and I suspect it's even better now. The ability to communicate. So I think what a parent needs to do is communicate more with the teachers, clarify things like what, like if a student has an assignment and the student doesn't understand the assignment, and the parent could reach out to the teacher and say, could you explain it more to me so I could help my child do this, So I think that would be better if parents were more communicative with the teacher, and I think that would be better.
Can you share a moment where you really felt that you made a difference in a child or teenager's life? Student's life?
I can. There was this one student. I wish I remember her name. I don't, but she was, Latina. Like 90% of my students, Latinos, and she got the opportunity in the Humanitas program. She got the opportunity to go to Israel and Jerusalem.
Wow.
And I nominated her. And again, remember I said there were like 3 teachers. The team teamed up. The 3 teachers, we teamed up and we chose her to nominate her to be accepted to do this. Then she had to be accepted through the Humanitas program, the district Humanitas program. Had to say, okay, she could be the one from Poly to go to Jerusalem and Israel. So she did, and I remember when she came, and it kind of changed her life to go there and to see those things and to learn all about that. It really made a big difference in her life. And other than that, I hope I made a difference in people's lives and their, but I can't think of a particular thing other than that.
Did she come back and tell you any stories?
Oh, God, yeah. And pictures. She had pictures, and she was like, her whole spirit just changed. When she came back, she was so enthusiastic. Speaking of spirits, and you and I have a history of spirits.
Yeah.
My granddaughter has turned me on to this series that I've been watching called School Spirit, and the characters in the show are dead students.
Oh, wow.
They all died on campus. Now the funny thing about it, for me as a writer, because I write a lot, and a TV writer, I really do enjoy the show, but it's kind of amazing how many students have died in the school over the years, but if you can get past the fact that they have too many students who died in the school, these spirits are, they're stuck on campus, and and this one, the most recent deceased student is it's a little bit of a mystery. She's like trying to find out how she died on campus. Why did I bring that up? Did I? Oh, I said I know why I brought that up, because the girl who came back from Israel came back with a spirit. Her whole spirit changed. Her essence, she just changed.
She was glowing.
Yeah, she just wanted to communicate everything she learned in Israel and Jerusalem, and
Is there a particular student who changed you as a teacher?
Well, you.
Whether it was not even. Were you lying?
No, I'm not. I'm not lying. You're, it's an interesting thing, Lucy, how many people I've told about you and our experience together. With, I don't know if you want to talk. Is it okay to talk about that?
Yeah, it's fine.
It's okay.
It's great.
It connects with that School Spirit TV show. And so I don't want to bore your audience with all the details, but my other interests besides teaching high school English,
one of the many,
was shamanic practices and psychic things and all that kind of stuff, So I actually studied that stuff in the desert near Mexico and on the border of Mexico, and learned a lot of this, a lot of shamanic things. And one day, people watching, one day I was handing out papers, standing, and students were coming up to me getting their papers back. And Lucy was one of those students. And I handed her paper back, and I get this message from a guy I could see in my mind's eye. He wasn't, I didn't like see him there, but he was in my mind's eye like a dream or something. And he said, this is Alfonso, and tell Luz not to don't wear the crucifix, it's okay to wear a cross without Jesus on the cross. And so I told you that. And you said, what do you, and you and your older sister were having discussions about that. You told me later.
Well, yeah, you described him as well.
Yes.
Before you told me before you told me that, you're like, hey, do you have a cousin named Alfonso? But that's so specific though. And you had described how he looked.
Yes.
And I was like, yes, like that's my cousin who had passed. Yeah.
Yes, so, and he was wearing a white
You were
t-shirt.
probably even his teacher. He also went to Poly.
Wow, that might, it's very possible.
Yeah.
I've taught thousands of students. It's like, wow, after 30 years, But anyway, so that happened. So you're asking me, was there a student that had changed my life? And I think about you. I seriously do.
That moment,
because that moment was it was like an important moment for me too. So like we kind of share that moment. But other than spirits and there was a guy who I can't remember his name, but he announced on my radio show. He was like the guy who announced me when I first did the podcast. He did that, but he was so into what we were teaching that, and so, he wasn't a genius kind of guy. He was a wise person. He was wise, and I really appreciated his wisdom, and we got to be close about that, and we shared a lot of stuff. And when I started doing my podcast, he announced on it for a while. So he changed my life.
Do you remember any funny stories of students that maybe did pranks on you, or you did pranks on them, or
yes. And speaking of pranks.
So sorry.
Is
no,
it
it's
thunder?
The garage.
Oh.
The garage door.
Oh.
Opened.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
The spirits are coming. So I had this 9th grade class. I didn't teach 9th grade a lot. They were, 9th grade. They were squirrely and less mature, immature, and, but it was fine. But I was teaching this 9th grade class, and it was the class before the lunch. Okay, so we, it was like I was trying to say, you cannot leave until the bell rings. Okay, you cannot leave until the bell rings, and a lot of them weren't. I'm leaving,
Yeah.
And it was, I was getting angry, and I was kind of responsible to keep them in, and everything. So this one particular day, we were kind of joking about it. I mean, it was really like, usually it wasn't a joke because they were making me angry because they had to stay by that. But this one day we were kind of joking. I said, I will prevent you will not be able to leave. Oh yeah, Savino? Let's show, prove it. Prove how you're not going to be able to let me leave. So just minutes before the bell rang for lunch, I moved a bunch of desks over to the door so they couldn't get out. They couldn't get out of the door. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, so you guys can't get out. Yeah, I can't get out, and the principal and some district people decided to come into the room.
Right before the bell rang?
Right before the bell rang, they decided to come in. And, duh, I blocked the door, but the door opens out. So they just open they're outside and they open the door. And they can't get in because I put all these desks there. And that was it was kind of embarrassing, and I mean, fortunately, the class was laughing a lot, and I was laughing too. And
did they ask you what were you doing?
Yes, and I told them, but I guess fortunately, because of everybody was laughing and I was laughing, they knew I was just joking around with the thing, but.
What advice would you give brand new teachers starting today?
Oh, boy.
Run.
That's
just kidding.
I hate to say this. I hate to say it, but I mean it. And I don't know. This is like a big problem. I wouldn't recommend anybody become a teacher today.
Oh, really?
I would not recommend it. It's become, for my whole career, Lucy, teaching and teachers and public schools was a political football. Like, one political party wanting to end public schools, another political party wanting, this. And it was always, it put a lot of pressure on us. It was like added pressure. I guess most teachers dealt with it better than I can, but I'm very sensitive, and it's hard to be knocked around like a football, just one side to the other. That aspect of teaching, I think, has become even worse since I've been teaching, since I left teaching. And I spoke to my Humanitas colleague, Mr. Lee, Jerry Lee. I spoke to him in 2023. We had lunch. And I said, how's it going because when the pandemic hit, I stopped substituting. I wasn't going to go back in the classroom with
a mask,
COVID and all that stuff. But I reached out to my colleagues, my old colleagues, and said, "How is it now?" So, and I said, "It's crazy." First of all, during the pandemic itself was very hard because they had to do it online. A lot of the students didn't have computers or didn't know how to use it at home, and their parents or they just weren't there at home because you had to take attendance from home, and the students decided not to be in class, or they did they kind of played the system and showed up present, but then while the class was going on, they were doing video games or something.
Yeah.
It was very hard. And then after the pandemic, from what I understand from the teachers that remained, it was just some of the students were in class and some of the students were still at home, and it just became, from what they tell me, it was very hard, and the students had behavioral problems because in high school it's important to be with other people, and I mean a big part of high school is meeting your friends and socializing with other people during the day, during lunch, and they were not able to do that anymore, and then that was a big part of that kind of I think messed up their development a little bit. And when they was able to get back into the classroom, they were off center and not it was very hard. It was very difficult for teachers. Now today, I mean, there's so much political pressure to do away with public school altogether, and giving taxpayer money to charter schools. And in my opinion, that eventually those charter schools are going to just be private corporations are just going to run schools, I think. And so if you are a person that really wants to teach kids and really I'd say my main advice to somebody who wants to be a teacher is you have got to 100% love the idea of wanting to teach kids. Because if you don't have that in you, with all the forces against teaching, you're not going to be able to make it. That would be my main thing. Another thing, Lucy, that Mr. Lee was telling me about, and it's one of the reasons I got out of teaching too, was because it would be more technology. Everything was technology. And
but didn't you study for technology?
I did.
Oh, okay.
I had to learn a certain amount in order to be a teacher. And as the years went by teaching, they gave us more training for this and that and the other, and it was like, oh my God, the technology. But now with the AI, I don't know how an English teacher does it with the AI, because when AI first came out, my partner Frank Catolo, who I told my radio partner Frank Catolo, he and I was on his radio show, his podcast, and we were talking about AI. And while we were on the air, he does his show live, like on the air. I don't know how. It's another technology thing. I don't know, but he did it, and we got Chat GPT or something like that. And I just said to Chat, GTP, whatever the letters are. I said, write a Shakespearean sonnet on this subject, and like in 5 seconds it wrote a Shakespeare.
So how do you know if the student's actually writing it, or
That's what I'm saying.
the GBTers?
That's what I'm saying. To be a teacher today, especially an English teacher, where you depend on them handing in written work, it's like, oh my God, how do you know? I mean, there are ways to know. But it's like, oh man. And then the schools themselves are depending more on AI to do things. So it's like it's I guess partly my age, Like if I had to do this now, if I had to be a teacher now, it would be like, oh my God, wouldn't know. It would be like another world almost, because it's like AI and technology and phones and things. And here's another thing, Lucy. Phones, I'm so old that cell phone,
Just kidding.
cell phones were just, they were just like starting when and then as time went by, students have started having cell phones. And then by the, like 20 years into my teaching, they all had cell phones, and they were like always on it. Then we started having the problem of like students
Put your
on
phones
their
away.
cell phones.
Yeah.
Put the cell phones away, and they were always. And then the school kind of gave up. A school in a district, I think, kind of gave up and said, you know what? Maybe, and then they gave everybody iPads and things. It was like, it was beyond me. It was like too much. I'm too old. Get off my lawn. Things, that I can't do it. But I guess a person like you, because you had asked me once before about like what about somebody advice for somebody who wants to be a teacher. I suspect because that person would be a lot younger than me, they're already
Caught up.
geared to technology and all that stuff. So you have to be, into technology to do that stuff,
Yeah. So I remember this one thing you said in classroom. You're like, if anybody sees me out and you say, "Oh, Captain, my Captain,"
Oh yeah.
I will give you an A+. What was that about? Because I did at lunchtime. I think I yelled, "Oh, Captain, my Captain," and you turned around like somebody actually said that. I was like, I want an A fucking plus. That's what I want. Like, what was that about? Was it
that was kind of a joke.
Oh, okay.
But it was kind of a joke towards my colleagues, who I wasn't real popular with my colleagues, because most of them wanted to be teachers, I think, and I never wanted to be a teacher. I just got into it the way I told you. I just began loving the student. I loved to be with the students. In a sense, too, as I got older, just being with the energy of teenagers was some sort of vampire thing. It was like, oh, I felt energized because these teenagers had all this energy. So, but my colleagues were like, real serious. I'm a teacher, and I'm going to teach them, and and but for you to yell out, "Oh, Captain, my Captain," on the quad or the polygon, and to have my colleagues hear it, it was like, oh, Savino. It was kind of like a joke to them,
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I didn't really give anybody an A+ just because they said, "Oh, Captain, my Captain."
Darn it.
I lied about that.
And so I know that being a teacher can be very stressful, drama with the teacher adults and all of that, or students. How would you release all that energy once you got home? A beer?
Well, seriously.
Some marijuana?
I used to, oops, sorry, Mike. I used to drink. I was
You're
not,
like, fuck these students.
I was never an alcoholic. Thank goodness. And be careful about what you read about things, because I was under the impression from reading magazines and things, I was under the impression that it was healthy to have at least a drink a day, So after school, I would stop at my favorite place in Burbank, which is no longer there, Gordon Beers. anyway. And I would stop and have a beer or a glass of wine or something like that. So that was one way to unwind. Now I know it's very bad. even one drink
After
a day.
becoming an alcoholic.
Even one drink a day is like bad.
Yeah.
So but then you're asking me how did I unwind? Then I would go and have a drink, and it would, as whatever it did for me health wise, at least relieve my anxiety and stress,
Yeah.
So it did that at least. They call it my doctors and psychotherapists say that was self-medicating. You're self-medicating. I guess I was. But today, well, even then, to a degree, I would do yoga. For a while, I was a yoga teacher,
You were a lot of things. That's great.
I was a yoga teacher. In fact, I taught at Poly after I got my credential being a yoga teacher. It was with the Yoga Alliance. I taught a class at lunch called Om Room 101, Om Room 108. That was my classroom. Om Room 108, and kids would come in at lunch, and I gave them yoga mats. I made, because I couldn't afford to get like yoga mats for everybody, so I'd go get shelf liner, the sticky stuff. It was basically like a yoga mat anyway. So we had all these cut out shelf liners for yoga mats, and there were about 6, 7 kids that came for yoga during lunch. So I did that for a while, but I did for myself too. I did yoga, and I still do yoga. Especially now that I can't drink, so I do yoga.
Do you ever go shopping and then you'll find a student? They'll be like, "Hey, Mr. Savino."
Oh yes.
And is it awkward for you, or do you enjoy saying hello, or are you embarrassed because you might not remember them?
Yes. The last part is that what happens is I almost always remember them, but I almost always forget their name.
Oh.
So that happens. But I wanted to ask you this. When I was teaching at Poly, the Ralph's is right near Poly.
Oh, yeah.
It's still there.
Yes.
And, I would go and during my break or right after school, I'd go to Ralph's for something. And I would occasionally run into students, like students then, like I was having them. And they would, every time I ran into a student at a supermarket, when I had the student, during the time I had the student, it was like the student couldn't believe I was at Ralph's. It was like, how could you be at Ralph's? Did you ever have that experience, like to see a teacher while you had that teacher, and and find it so weird that like they can only exist in school? These people, these teachers can only exist.
No, I never saw a teacher out and about, but I in elementary I thought that teachers were teachers and they didn't have a life. So that was my mentality. So I guess that kind of follows with what those students were feeling when they would see you, maybe like, you shouldn't be here.
I think that's exactly what it is. That's good. That's good. I think that's exactly what it is. It's like teachers only live in school. They're just there and whatever.
Yeah. Looking back, what are you most proud of?
I would have to say seriously, and I thank you for having me on Lucy Talks, and thank you for making those comments that you made about how you feel about me, and that you think other students have felt that about me. And that is probably what I'm most proud of. That I hope I hope I taught students English and literature, but I know I got through at least some of them in how to how to be a good human being. I think that's what makes me most proud. And and if people appreciated me, laughing during the class and like wanting to be in my class because it was fun, that's great too. I like that too.
Well, thank you for coming on my podcast, and I am so happy that I got to be your student and you got to be my teacher, and all those beautiful memories. And thank you for everything. And yeah, I'm proud of you.
Oh,
I'm proud of you.
Thank you, Lucy,
for doing all those years that you did and changing children's or teenagers' lives.
Yeah.
Yes.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Toodaloo.
Bye, Lucy Talk fans.
Thank you.